This conference will now be recorded.
Oh. Well, thank you, future. So you guys get a script and you start memorizing lines. I get a script and I see the overall message that they're trying to portray. I see the reason why it's written. Okay? So as actors, instead of memorizing lines, if you look at the overall picture and try to find the why this was written, who they're talking with, and all of these things, the story they're trying to tell. Notice I haven't said this is about a commercial or film or TV or play. They're all the same. Every script and every game I play now, when I'm teaching, I'll play games. I'll go, okay, this commercial is now a film. This film is now a play. Your surroundings and your audience and all these things define how it sounds. So I don't define a script by the words or what's on that paper. I see the overall story and try to figure out what the words, why they're written. I'll talk a little bit more about that probably in a little bit when I answer your questions, but it's just odd because a casting director, as I look at something, I have no pressure to memorize. Whereas an actor immediately tries to find their lines and memorize them. Instead of doing that, the best way to, and let me back up, okay? Zoom. Let me start with Zoom and we're going to conquer this first. You guys hate the idea of even slating or talking to this camera, okay? The big differences now that I see with actors as I've been Zooming over the last year. Can you guys imagine, for those of you who have ever had in-person auditions, walking into the audition room and messing with the camera, going and messing with my camera? No. So now you guys have control of your camera. You weren't thinking I was going to say that first, but you have control of your camera. So the very first thing I know I have to do in Zoom is disarm the fact that this may not be perfect. In fact, it will never be perfect. Okay, I jump back to what I was saying about moms. Moms, I created this thing called the perfectrum. It's a spectrum of perfection, okay? Moms are a 10, all right? Sorry to group all moms, sorry to stereotype, but I've seen a lot of moms in this world, all right? They want their kids' hair to be perfect, the shot to be perfect, the lighting, everything has to be perfect. The script, all right? They're a 10. Dads are a negative 10. Dads are like, your mom usually does this, so whatever, good luck, Timmy, okay? Timmy's like, Dad. It's funny because dads are a negative 10. What I want you to be is a 0. Meaning all these burdens that are on you now of your lighting, of all these things you have to do, shouldn't affect you. We have to let it go. You used to walk in the audition room and I did all those things. I had the camera. If you were taller, I went, boom, boom, brought the camera up. You're shorter, I went, boom, boom, brought it down. I did all these things immediately, okay? You good? Is it okay?
I was trying to make that go away.
So now you have all these extra jobs. I can see those happening to you. You know what your overall question is in auditions now for actors, for so many actors? I hope I'm doing this right. I hope my lights are good enough. I hope I'm doing the slate that they wanted me to do. All these different slates they're asking you to do. Here's what I want you to know about a slate. A slate is the opportunity to say to the camera, this is never a camera, by the way. You always know who you're talking with. But a slate is your opportunity to say to that casting director or that person that that is the work that you just did. You are proud of the work that you just did. And it's a moment where you're honored that they are watching your work. Hi, come on in. So your slate is a moment to say who you are and that you're proud of what you did and they're watching it. It's not to say that you're trying to do it or all these things. It's to know that you just did work, you're proud of it, and you're honored that they take that moment to watch it. If you notice, I can feel the difference. That is slating for them. That is saying, thank you for watching. I'm Brian Beegle, that's my work, okay? It's not going, I'm Brian Beegle, 5'10", from Atlanta, local hire, you can cut off my left leg if you need to. Did I say that right? But it's funny, I can see who you are in your slate. So it's a wonderful moment to go, this is me, that wasn't, but that's what I can do. Interesting, right? Because you are not the person you were in your slate, right? I am Dracula. No, you're not. You just were. So that should answer that question. You be yourself in the slate, be proud that they're going to watch it and say it to the camera. But we have trouble even in our self-tapes. I watch a ton of self-tapes now, slating with that confidence that you know you just did good work and that they're going to watch it. That's the first thing that I see as far as the big issues with Zooming or self-taping, okay? The way to erase that, again, it's hard to breathe when I speak this fast with this on, okay? This is a first for me.
Yeah.
I'm out of breath, which is crazy. So I have to stop to breathe. So the first thing to realize is whenever you are talking with a camera, it is never a camera. And I've already said that, but I'm going to reinforce it. You guys, when you come into commercials, you come in, you stand on your mark, and all of a sudden you're talking to this thing, this object. Make it disappear. In fact, throughout this last year, you've been Zooming. Who has the camera been? Today, the camera is Teresa, Kelly, Caller 01, and Polly. Okay? But do you see when I talk to this camera, I'm not talking to a machine. I'm not talking for me. I'm talking for you. So every time you're talking to a camera, if you genuinely know who that person is or make that choice, then it's easy to talk to them because you'll know why you're talking with them. So it goes back to figuring out the story of why. So let's talk about how I look at a script real quick, okay? If I was an actor, because I already told you about how I look at it, I see the story. If I was an actor, what I would do is let's take a cold script. First, just read through it one time. You have no lines. It's just information. So there's no pressure to try to do anything. Then go back through and go line by line, okay? If the first line is, last year during healthcare's open enrollment, the first call I made was to Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama. Okay, I've heard that line a million times. But the first thing I would do is, after I read that line aloud, figure out why I said that. What do I mean? To figure out why, the first thing that happens is I need to know who I'm talking with. If I'm talking to my sister, that's going to sound different than I'm talking to my grandmother who needs health insurance. But as soon as you know why, who that person is, you don't have to know how you need to sound. But every actor tries to go, this is how I'm going to sound. Another interesting thing to me is that I thought of the other day, you guys try to do the same thing over and over. You try to figure out the way that's right. Where when you come in to audition for me, I try to get you to do it differently every time. No take, gives me goosebumps. I'm such a dork, but no take will ever be the same. So the idea of being perfect or trying to do the same thing, I'm a very musical person. If I hear those notes hit on the same moments, then I'll know that it's scripted in your brain to that's how it should sound. Instead, let go of perfection. Let go of needing to know how it's going to sound. Listen and take care of the person that doesn't exist because that camera is a real person. Empathize with them, and all of a sudden you will go through every line in your script and ask, why did I say this? What do I mean? If you truly do those things, you do that all the way through your script, okay? The next time, third time through, you look at your script again. You just look through the lines and now you understand why you said your lines. You understand your story. Once you do that why game, I could do it with any script, film, TV, a one-liner, anything, okay? By the end, and by going through that exercise, you know the why they wrote it. So you know why you exist, which dictates how you should sound. You've also done something incredibly important as you go through that third time and you know your whys and everything. You've created memories. Instead of memorization, create memories. So when you say, last year during healthcare open enrollment, the first call I made was to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama. If I ask myself why, or what do I mean? How would I answer that question? Who could take that on? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So, yes.
You mean like what's your backstory?
Yeah, if you had to say that, yes. What is your backstory to that line? If you had to say last year during healthcare open enrollment, first place I called was Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama. It's a mouthful. I watched actors super fail on that line over and over, and they're like, "Oh, it's the toughest line." I'm like, "Tell me about what happened last year." I play a game called Flashback. Flashback to last year. Tell me about when you called them. Who answered?
Simply Susan.
Why'd you call?
I called because I really needed healthcare because everything with COVID started happening and I wasn't on a good healthcare plan, so I called Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama.
How'd Susan take care of you?
She was the sweetest old lady I've ever talked to. She reminded me of my mom, actually.
Well, so now Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama isn't a thing. It's now a human, because that is what would have happened last year. So now, if you go and, okay, guys, this is my favorite game to play with actors. I've played this with super high skilled actors and actors who have never acted before. My favorite game to play is simply close your eyes. Everybody go ahead, close your eyes. When you close your eyes, mine are still closed, so trust me, you do it too. Even my Zoomers. When you do it, if you notice, you disappear, but you imagine your surroundings. So when you say the line, last year during healthcare open enrollment, the first place I called was Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama. You know what's weird in that? I can open my eyes now, so can you guys. Thank you. It sounded different there. You want to know why? Because I saw the person that I was talking to before I said the line, and I didn't. But if you close your eyes all the way through a script, I spoke at the Michaud Film Festival the other day on Zoom, which is in LA, but they had me, and the other casting directors were the casting director of Glow and Grey's Anatomy, and me, right? And I'm like, this is awesome. And it inspired me. And I said the close your eyes thing, and I watched them going, that is a note that no one would ever give. And it's so powerful because all of a sudden you don't care about yourself. You don't exist. But I can see you. I can see you sitting there. And if not, I'll imagine. Okay. So what is a book on tape? A book on tape is exactly that experience. Think about it. You imagine the characters. The first book on tape I ever listened to was Harry Potter. Okay. My girlfriend in college, God, I'm old. Right, but we would drive, and she would read it. Sorry, this was before books on tape. I'm messing up my own memory. But that way you imagine the characters. When you read a book or a book on tape, you're not visually referenced, but your brain is. All of a sudden, when you're acting, that disappears, and you say lines. You want to know what's way easier? Meaning what you say. So if you play that why game, now you've gone through the script 3 times. The next time, close your eyes, throw the script down because you can't see it, and watch. If you've done your why and your meaning, you'll go through the script and you'll know it 90% of the way, which is insane to go through a script 3 times. 4th time, your eyes are closed. 5th time, you open your eyes and you go, that's where I messed up. That's where I messed up. Oh my God, this is easy. And you believe yourself. So it's so powerful because actors take a script and they go, these are my lines. I got to memorize them. The best director I ever worked for in a commercial, it was a Chick-fil-A commercial, and there were 4 roles. And he brought in 4 people at a time. And then he went, all right, Beth, you do Matt's role. Matt, you do Carrie's role. Carrie, you do Samantha's role. And everybody panicked immediately. They were like, I don't know that. And he goes, throw your scripts down. And it was weird because they were all so much better. Because they weren't worried about nailing their lines or whatever. They knew they didn't know them. We all listened to each other. If you close your eyes too, practicing, the other thing that has to happen is you have to listen. Mm-hmm. So it's the most powerful thing. And it's so simple. But if you guys do anything from today, take your next monologue that you've done 1,000 times that you know, and do it with your eyes closed once and watch it be new. Because you will purely mean what you say. I can hear when you don't. I can hear when a line is a line. I can hear when a line is for someone. Okay, so it's so important to look at scripts like that, not to need to know the lines. But to think about your best stories in life, all right? One time I was on a date in LA, okay? And I caught on fire, all right? The girl I was on the date with looked at me and she said, "You're on fire." And I said, "You know it." And then I realized I was on fire, and that is true, okay? And I had to put myself out. And it was a really interesting thing. But the thing is, I don't have to think of that story, okay? I see it happening to me because it's a memory. So if you take lines and make them memories, effort disappears. You know what then can happen? I can go, great. Now you're at the pool talking about this. Now you're at the, where you could be in any different places. I can't believe I can only think of the pool. But the point is, I can change how you are now. I can go talk to your grandmother, talk to your little brother, talk like this is the last thing you're ever going to say before you walk away and walk to another life. I can say things like that, and all of a sudden you're not worried about how it's going to sound. You want to know why? You haven't practiced it that way. But you guys practice over and over and over trying to say the same thing, and then all of a sudden you walk into the audition and I go, change it. I'd like it to be like this. Your mind goes, I haven't practiced it that way. I go, great. You don't know how it's going to go. That's how life works. Only in acting are we contriving the future. Only in acting are you taking a script and saying what you know, but pretending you don't. So that means it should feel different on every take. And if you do that, you will release yourself of trying to do what you're trying to do. Because when you go into audition, you go in and do two things. One, go in and do what you want. You'll make good choices based on the script, figuring it out, loving your choices and knowing why you're saying things, and go for it. And then two, take my direction and do what I want. So that's really interesting because those are two different things. You should never worry about what I want. You should do what you want on the first take, because that's when I see your genuine choices. And that's when I can play with it, right? So then it's like, what's next, Brian? What do you got? The best actors, they will wait for me to, they'll do their thing and they'll go, what do you got? I'll go, let's try this. Okay, boom, good. See you next time. They're not looking for affirmation or acceptance or did I do it right? Because when you truly mean what you say, it's right. You believe yourself, bless you. When you believe yourself, it's right. As long as the tone exists for who we're talking to and you know where you are. So that's the second biggest thing that I notice on Zoom now. When you guys come in to audition for me in the past, I'll set a whole scene. I'll tell you who you're talking with. I'll tell you your moment before, so you walk in, you know what you just came from. I'll even tell you where you're going after, even if it doesn't exist. But that way we're just shooting this little thing. The biggest thing I see on Zoom is that you guys fail to believe the scene around you. So instead, if a girl is on a 30-story building, all right, and I had this amazing scene with this little girl who's booked this huge role, and I helped her tape it, and it's incredible. But the hardest thing I had to do with her was go, in this scene, you're on top of a 30-story building. You have these people dangling in the air because she has superpowers. She's the villain. And everybody down in the street has to be able to hear you. So what does that mean? I know you hear me. It means it has to feel 30 stories up, which is weird because we're in a tiny room. But almost all actors are of a fear of going, I am not in this tiny room. I am shooting this 30 stories up, whatever that is. But if you make yourself believe the scene around you, you react based to it, and the sound is based on that. So once I pushed her we got her to, eyes closed. I said, step on the ledge. She stepped on the ledge. I said, how far down are they? Describe the people. Eyes closed. She did it all, and then it was easy because she sounded like she needed to sound based on the scene around her. But that's the biggest thing I see with actors now is not realizing that the scene will never be real. This is all make-believe. So your job, especially now on Zoom, is to, or self-tape, is to prove to a director, you don't need that scene around you to make it real. You don't even need the other actors. You're reading the two pictures on the wall and the whole thing feels real. Okay? I mean, you can see, I can imagine what I'm looking at. It's funny, it feels real. But if you do that, then a director already trusts you. So you have to book it from that moment. Meaning, close your eyes, you don't have to. Just saying, if you did, I say close your eyes, you're on set. No, you're not, you're auditioning. Yes, you are, you're on set. See your scene. And I've never said it like this before. But imagine if you put yourself on set and be there, that it's going to play as real as it will ever be, which is still not real. This isn't real. So the art of acting is to imagine. It is to never grow up in your mind. So that way, if you are truly reacting to the scene around you and you make lines and make memories out of lines, acting goes away. You'll never become a role. A role becomes you. You take your past memories. If you have pain, failure, loss, if you lost a pet that you love so much, the next time you have to have loss, channel it. Put true fear in your soul. There's a game I play called The Power of Touch. When theater actors sometimes make the transition, they have a hard time in front of the camera. So they'll go, big, right, talking to me as if I'm, and I'll go, okay. And I'll go over and I'll just put my hand on them, or I'll say, I'll have someone else hold their hand. And the second that you hold somebody else's hand, you can't talk like this anymore. Because if I'm holding, it feels like I'm holding your hand right now, doesn't it? But if I'm holding your hand, it all of a sudden, everything I do becomes for you. It is called the power of touch. And if you ever want to break your own heart, which is my other favorite thing to do with you guys, is to break your hearts on camera, is to hold somebody's hand. And if you have a tough scene, say that is the last time you'll ever hold this person's hand. Say goodbye. Let go of it. Know that they're gone forever. And you can feel before a person, even you feel fear right now. None of this is real. But if you dial in fear, if you dial in that truth, I call action. You don't need to know what's going to happen next. You want to know what happens when fear happens? Who knows? So that's the beauty of acting. And that's why I'm a commercial casting director. All right. But I've been in film and TV my whole life. I understand it. I tape people now, and I really don't have time to do that these days. So, because I'm casting a lot, which is really exciting. I'm now casting projects. I was now for the first time ever in my career, head of casting for a project that shot in New York, LA, Chicago, Miami, Atlanta, and Dallas. And I was the head of casting for it. And I'm sorry, but when I say these things aren't about me, right, or I don't care, I'll tell you why I care. Because I fight for Georgia and I fight for what we do here. So when I do this, it feels like a win for us. When I was on that thing, that film festival, they started talking about Georgia as a regional market. Okay, that's what they do in LA. They'll say, well, Georgia's a wonderful regional market. You guys know where this is the #1 film and TV industry market in the world. Where does Marvel shoot? Here. DC, here. All these things, all of them shoot here. It's amazing. So yeah, so I said, that used to be true, but now, and this is what I said on the panel, all these actors from New York and LA who got lost in the sea there, they're coming to Atlanta and they're getting guest stars and they're getting reoccurring roles, and Atlanta has a huge, huge talent market. So y'all come to Atlanta. I was like, come on, we'll take you. Let's go. And so everybody was taken aback by that because we're not a regional market. We're the best. We're becoming the best in the world. You know what that means? Local actors need to step it up. There's people moving here. Love your career. There's no timeline in this. Every time you feel like you fail or it didn't work out, use it as a weapon to either get better, or if you're angry by something, use it in your auditions. but never, ever hold back, because this is your life and it has to be imagination based. I took over 13, many years ago for Melissa Mcbride. She was the former casting director at Stillwell. She is Carol on The Walking Dead, okay? She never auditioned for that role. People asked me the other day, my pet peeve. There's things that drive me nuts, right? Like everybody, but the thing that I said on the film festival panel was a $500 audition is the same as a SAG national or series regular. Every audition is the same. But I'll watch actors not know their lines when it's $500. They're like, it's $500. I'm like, here's the thing. Train your brain to make that real and you'll learn those lines. And the time that people are making excuses and all these things, I'm like, you could be doing this right now. And it's true. So that's the thing, is train yourself to be an incredible actor no matter how much it pays. Melissa Mcbride never auditioned for The Walking Dead. The director was on a low budget movie called The Mist in New Orleans. And it was Frank Darabont, one of the biggest directors in the world. And he called her one day and told her to quit her job, that she's Carol on The Walking Dead. And she did it because she booked that because she put herself up in New Orleans for local hire. Made no money off a movie. But that director believed in her. Her scene is incredible in that movie. The whole crew and all the actors after her scene, the very first take, stopped and applauded her. Okay, because it's a real crazy movie called The Mist, and she walks out into the mist to go save her kids. And it's the director, they even changed the end of the movie. So that's how powerful she was as an actress. She didn't make it. She was probably 45, sorry, but whatever, when she made it, she had been an actress for a long time. So do you see, there's no timeline. This could take you 25 years. You could move to LA after college. I was a successful actor as a kid. It was easy. Back then, if you listened well, which I was a very good listener as a child, I don't know what happened, but as an adult, as a child, I listened very well. And there were only like 10 kids. So we saw the same kids at every audition. They got to the point, they're like, here comes Brian. I'm like, hey, everybody. They're like, crap. But it's because I had no pressure. As a child, this is joy. As an adult, it becomes something you need to try to do. So have joy outside of your acting career, because that's what brings it joy, that it shines through. You have to let go of needing to book, because that's palpable, okay? So I think I've talked a little bit about how we look at scripts differently and how Zoom is different now, which, the big things, let me talk more about the perfectrum, is that you guys, you don't need, the biggest struggle as a casting director that I do is you guys don't have your cameras level half the time. And I'll put in meaning eye level. I'm sorry, it's not like it's on and this is okay, but because it doesn't matter today. But if I say standing, and I put very clear notes in there, you're standing, you put the camera eye level, you need to buy the little tiny things that allow it to make that easy. But I watch actors struggle, and they struggle, and they're trying to adjust their iPad, and they got it propped, and I've seen every kind of propping the thing, right? And it takes away from the joy of what we're about to do. It makes me stop and help you, right? So y'all, it's weird. I can tell immediately who has read my notes, who knows that what we're gonna do, and I'll be very clear, but a lot of times I have to sit, I'll go, hey, put your camera on top of, do you have a box or something? You put it on a chair on top of the box. So you remember that song, The Hole in the Bottom of the Sea? I'm like, put a box on the table, on the chair, on the camera on the bottom. Like, you have to get it, I'll play these games of helping actors. The first 6 months of Zoom, that almost broke me. Because I'm used to, I could see 125 people in a day in person. I bring in 8 people at a time in my waiting room, from the waiting room. I'll break it down, what we're gonna do. I'll send 7 people back out, and then I'll go. So it's really hard for me, but I've accepted it. 13 years ago, I bought a website called auditionadvisor.com, and my goal was to be in the Bahamas casting. Okay, that was too soon because it wasn't ready, but that's the idea now. Zoom is a weapon. The last project, both the people that booked recorded it from their cars. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but they both had extreme circumstances. One of the guys locked his keys in his house, and the commercial was about confusion and frustration.
Oh my God.
The best thing is I directed it on the fly and had him looking around and doing it. And then halfway through, he realized what I was doing. And I was like, yes, this is real. This is about your keys. And he booked it. He didn't freak out or say, I'm sorry that I'm in my car, all these things over and over. It's okay. Sometimes Zoom is a huge weapon. You're on a set and I can get you. Think about that. If 5 years ago, if you were on a set, you were just unavailable for a callback. And now I can get you. So use it as a weapon. It's not an obstacle, but that is what I've sensed most of the time. People are trying and, how's my shot? Are the lights perfect? I'm like, sorry. But it's crazy. And I'm like, everything's fine. I do the back off the ledge thing. I'll do it. Yeah, I like it. Your shot's good. No, I tell you, I have to say it. You should, I'll tell you if your lights aren't, right? Okay. But I used to play this game in casting called No Questions. If I did my job right and explained what we were going to do in the audition, I can go 8 hours without anybody asking me a question. I'm very thorough. So actors, I will arm you with what you need to know, even what you didn't know you needed to know. And then all of a sudden, nobody asked me questions. So I love this game. On Zoom, I will handle 5 questions before I start. And it's usually about the setup. So be professional. Take it with you. It used to be you had to take 2 headshots everywhere. It doesn't exist anymore. When it does, do it, okay? But get the tools that you need to make your setups easy, because it's tedious, but you're at home. You're saving gas, time, money, everything. So that's what I put it back on the producers. I'm like, I'm saving you money. We're saving money. And they're like, this is great. Directors love to be at home. Yeah, I'll show up when we shoot this. Sure you will. But that's the thing. It can be a huge weapon or it can be an obstacle. So let go of perfection on Zoom. We're not shooting it. So that's the other thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to be eye level with some decent light, and that's it. Your self-tapes, they don't have to be perfect. People will apologize in their self-tapes. Sorry, I'm not at home today, so this background I'll have to do. I'm like, well, now the background's an issue. Instead of being like, I'm not at home today, this background will do. And you're not going to say that, but you're going to feel that. So that's what I ask you to do as far as treating Zoom differently, is really knowing, even in the last year, if you've been Zooming, you're talking to someone. So when you jump back in front of the camera, it's not a camera, it's a real person, okay? I could talk forever. Let's not do that. What questions do you guys have for me? Use me, please. I mean, I'll answer anything, even if I don't know the answer. Not really. Yes.
So what typically, like, if you're setting out for an audition, how many people are you typically taking in, like, per role or per audition? And then same with like callbacks, how many are you usually calling?
Well, it depends, so if the role I did the other day had, the casting I did the other day had 4 roles. One of them was an older lady, so I chose to Zoom with that role because the script, you guys, is amazing. The other 3 roles I allowed self-tapes, but it's a tiny moment of comedy. So I send it out to almost 40 agents. I let the agents submit however they want, so they'll submit 2,000 people, and I will go through 2,000 people to pick 50 to 60 for each role. Okay, so most of the time that's how it goes. In person, which is Zoom, I'm talking about Zoom person, I can't see as many as I used to. So those numbers go down to 25 or 30 per role, okay? So it's hard to get in those doors. And then, what was the second? I forget where.
For callback.
Oh yeah, so callback, I mean, it could be 10 to 15 per role, it could be 4, who knows? So it really just depends on the project. But yeah, I send it out to tons of agents across the South now, which I used to hate self-tapes. And I'll go back to why I still do, okay? Because I took the time to put out great direction with each role. So you guys, it's just like I try to do it like you're coming into audition for me, okay? People didn't read them. People didn't get the script. So they, on the self-tapes, they weren't saying a line. But here's the #1 thing I saw. 90% of the auditions, all right? This is a Bojangles audition, okay? In this Bojangles audition, the only thing that changes is the end of the script, the last 5 seconds of the script. So that's where the 4 people are different in each. The rest of the script is like, the new crispy chicken sandwich, it's delicious, whatever. But you get to the end and you have 5 seconds. If you read that script, and that's the first thing I did, like I read through it and I'm like, oh, this takes place at the end, it's a button, meaning it's just the end. The number one thing people would do is make their scene or make their moment 30 to 40 seconds. That will drive a director insane because you have to, if you read the script and see that it's 30 seconds and you were in the last 3 or 4 seconds, it needs to be less than 10 seconds. Why did I not say 3 or 4? Because one of the best ways to make me believe you in acting is a tiny moment before and a tiny moment after. So one of the roles was weatherman, and he gets interrupted by the person eating a crispy chicken sandwich. Okay, his line is, looks like it's going to be 95 degrees, more weather later, or whatever, but he gets interrupted, right? That's his only role. Looks like it's going to be 95 degrees, whatever. He gets interrupted by the news person. But the guys would go, so I wanted them to do a moment before and a moment after, which means, thanks, Jan. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's going to be a great weekend. We've got a high of 95 degrees. You see how it took me 3 seconds to get to my line. And then after 95 degrees, it's chicken time. Or whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't know what I'm going to do there. But that's what makes it funny. You guys do your self-tapes 23 times. It's not funny anymore. Okay, my fiance booked a role for Wind Creek Casino yesterday, a commercial, all right? We've been working on the self-tape thing, and the thing is, she shot the scene that she booked once. It wasn't perfect. It was fun. It served the scene. I liked it, and I was like, don't shoot this again. And she booked it. The first time you ever do something, it's the most genuine. So stop trying to do things and get it right? Because you know what's going to happen when you come to casting. I'm going to change it, right? So if you're flexible, that means practice different ways. You know, my favorite ways to practice, get people to practice is in a stupid accent. They'll do it. One time I had somebody do Eastern European and they were like, I can't do that. And I was like, go for it. And they were like, oh, I don't know what's happening. I'm like, you're doing it actually. You're from Transylvania or something, but it works. But you know what happens? In your mind, you go, this isn't real. I don't care. And so all of a sudden you go, oh, no, oh, my line. It's lines. Oh, yeah, it's lines. But you do because you don't care. So I try to take away that caring, but you must honor a script. So that's the big difference when I look at a script and when an actor looks at a script, the actor tries to see their whole thing. I'm like, you know what you are in a script for the most part in a commercial? You're a prop. You're a talking prop. You are. What's the most important thing? The thing and the person who wants to buy it. You are the vessel. So that's it, but it's really funny, but you are not the most important thing in a commercial. People won't even honor what they're talking about. A lot of times in a commercial, people come to camera the whole time. Yep. What is this? It's ghee butter. I know. You already know how to work with it. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm like, first of all, this is a spot about ghee butter, which I cast that spot. You need to go like this. What is this? It's ghee butter. Now you know that I'm making a sandwich, and you saw me see somebody going, what is that? Instead of me going, this is ghee. People will do that. And I'm like, what is ghee? And they'll go, this. And I'm like, where is it? And they'll go, what do you mean? I'll go, where's the ghee that you're talking about? And they'll go, oh, right here. And I'll go, perfect. So now say it. They'll go, this is ghee. And I'm like, now you are talking about something that's not there that is supposed to be. But that's when lines feel real, is when you mean what you say. When you're over there making a sandwich, it's ghee, all right? So when you do those tangible things of making the scene real around you, your lines are a result. Your lines don't come first. You see me pleading with you guys because I don't want you to memorize anymore, ever. Don't memorize a line. You look at that line, look at that line, look at that line. You try to memorize. All of us, every time you do that, you go blind, 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 deaf. You're just, all you're doing is you're saying your line. Instead of letting go, listening, and seeing how it goes next time. It won't be the same ever. See, I tried to dial away that idea of trying to do the same. You can't do that in life. Okay, what other questions? Let's rock. Yes.
So if a actor came into an audition with you and they weren't off book and they had the script in their hand, how would you feel?
I don't mind at all. You want to know what the best actors do when they don't? First of all, if you ever come into audition, even if it's on Zoom, always have the script in your hand. Print it out. Laziness abounds now. Laziness is very obvious, okay? Because people have to scroll. The script, the words never move. Okay? Print it out. Because watch, look at YouTube auditions of the biggest actors booking the biggest roles. They have a script in their hand because they don't care. They're not going, I have to know this all the way through. They know that if they mess up, they can go, "This is what I said, Brad." Meaning they're not going to go, "That's what I said, Brad." They know that that script is there, so if they need it, they can look down and look at it. But the reason I ask you to have your script in your hand is because it's going to be different when you audition for me than when you practice at home. And different trips up actors. But if you guys practice it different ways, it won't trip you up. Meaning a little more energy, a little more casual, a little more like get the message, a little more like you can do this. There's so many ways to do anything. Okay? One of my favorite, who wants to play a game? You're the teacher. Fine, ready? I appreciate you. The line is, my neighbor is coming over for dinner. So go ahead and say that.
My neighbor's coming over for dinner.
Right now, that means nothing. Okay? I'm going to tell you something about your neighbor, and you will only say, my neighbor's coming over for dinner. Okay? You ready? That's your line, but you say it after I tell you what your neighbor is. Okay? Your neighbor's Brad Pitt. Just say, my neighbor's coming over for dinner. Don't think it.
Neighbor's coming over for dinner.
You just saw your neighbor murder somebody in the window.
Neighbor's coming over for dinner.
Your neighbor makes terrible dinner.
My neighbor is coming over for dinner.
You secretly covet your neighbor's husband.
My neighbor is coming over for dinner.
Do you see how you stopped thinking? Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
The thing is, so you saw guys in the beginning. She tried to set. I said Brad Pitt, and she's like, "Why? What? How would I?" And I'm like, "No, say it." And then 2 or 3 times later, do you see what your first instinct is? Is the funny thing, because you stop thinking, and then I can say anything about your neighbor, and we'll see who you are. But you make a genuine response. It's a stupid game, but it's the idea that you don't have to know. You have to feel it. And once you do that, your line is in response. All right? Thank you very much. You guys have a good one. But it is. If you don't know why you started talking in a commercial, well, so do I. The truth has to be clear to you. It's because I've heard so many canned things, and as a music-based person, music never goes away from me. There's always some sound that I can hear that you are trying to do the same thing rather than believing yourself. It's a huge difference. Yes.
So I have a comment and a question.
I like those.
So you don't care much about the lines, but I've seen.
No, that's not what I said. Can I just stop you right there? I'm going to stop you real quick because you're helping me make a great point, okay? The role that I had to Zoom with, the older ladies for Bojangles. Hi, you're here for your dental exam? Come on in. How you been? Good. So for Zoom, I Zoomed with the grandma. Why? The line, she bites into the sandwich. You guys will see this in a month or so when it's on TV, right? She bites into the sandwich and simply says one thing. She goes, "I-ye." She says, "I-ye." It is written as I-A-Y-E. So you know what actors did?
You try to do it exactly how it's written.
No.
What?
They said in their minds, and y'all will do this all the time, they said, that's not how I say this. This is a self-tape. I'll just say what I want. So they went, woo, woo, yeah. Most of the time they drug it out for 20 seconds. They were like, oh, I'm like, you have 4 seconds. You have 3 seconds. Oh my God. I had to tell the director. I wrote them and said, here's the thing. I was wrong on this, which I don't like writing, but I need to Zoom with these people tomorrow. I need another day to cast this. Because actors, when they don't know how to say something or don't like it, they'll change the line. And I'm like, you do not do that. In fact, it's really easy to know how to say something you don't know how to say. First of all I had to do was get them to say it. As soon as I did it, they were like, oh, that's fine. And I was like, do it. And they went, yeah. I'm like, see. But if you don't know what you're talking about, there's this script that has the word strategic imperatives, and it's a kid script. And I watched all these kids not be able to say strategic imperatives. So all I had to do was get them to go, all right, what's strategy? And they're like, when you try to figure out something using a method, they all had their own definition of that. And then I tell them what an imperative is. I said, it's imperative, meaning you have to do it. You've got to get it done. They're like, oh, so it needs to be done. I'm like, yeah. So say it. And they go, well, it's a strategic imperative. The second I made them make sense of the line, they believed, they knew what they were talking about. You could say it all day long. Okay. So with that, I'm really glad you said that, because actors' instincts are to go, I wouldn't say it like that. You want to know what the art of acting is? How would you say that line? Everybody's going to say it differently. So say that line, but make it, use it. I want to believe you would say that. That's what an actor needs to do, is honor writing. Okay. So yes.
Along those lines.
Yeah.
That wasn't my exact point.
I'm sure not.
If someone flubs.
Yeah.
Because I've seen friends and whatnot.
Say what
have
you mean.
Perfect audition.
Yeah.
Sincere, but because they flubbed one word, they want to throw it out and do the whole thing. Because I
Well,
know friends something. I'm like, that was great.
Here's what I would ask. If they flubbed a word, like if what they said, the sentence didn't make sense.
No, just the word, like.
Yeah. If they changed one thing, but it still made sense, and they accidentally changed it, and it's in the middle of this monologue, whatever, that is amazing, because what they did was they said what they meant. Which, if they're believing themselves, you will slip up in the script that long, okay? And you'll actually change but the best actors, they're saying what they mean, so they'll still work it out. If you ever have that moment of fear or not knowing a line, and you have your script in your hand, the best thing about that is you're going to say that line differently than you ever would have planned it. So that's another thing. People fear that moment, and I'm like, nope. This unknown second you have where you're touching your script and coming back up is the unplanned, which is what I need to feel. So what else?
Okay, and then the question was,
Sweating.
do you make the final decision, or do you choose your top 5 who auditioned and then send them to the director?
My goal is to, if I bring in 95 actors for an audition, is to send 95. So, and I pull it off. I'll if I have to void 2 or 3, I consider that a fail on me, because it's my job to see you, and I don't need to see 9 headshots to know what you can do. Don't pay for reels, fake reels, or speed scenes, or these things. You guys spend money on classes and learning, okay? And etiquette. Go be extras. Go do things. It's never bad to be an extra. Agents don't care about that. They're like, they won't pick you if you're an extra. They're like, that is not true. If you're an extra, you're non-recognizable, but you learn. So there's so many ways to learn and become well-rounded here in this industry, and you spend time behind camera. It took me a year behind camera, and I saw this guy acting, and I was like, oh my God, that's me in LA. When I lived in LA after college, I had 5 jobs at the same time, all of them. I mean, seriously, I didn't even know what job to go to someday, and I was trying to make it in LA. That was not the kid who booked all these roles in Atlanta. And I watched this guy, and I had management, and I was a SAG actor. I had already done all this stuff. And I was looking at this guy in the camera, and I was like, this guy is trying to do it and is having 0 fun. And I stopped him and I said, are you having fun? And he goes, no, I'm really trying. If I could just, and I was like, stop. You are me in LA. You lost the joy in the fact that none of you, this has to be trying to do anything. If you believe yourself and have fun doing it or challenge your heart, then it is there. But if not, It's effort, and that is what's palpable. You guys watch though. Next time you get a script, close your eyes, believe yourself, and see how easy it is to say the next line. It's super easy. Instead of having to remember, you'll never have to remember. Okay. What else? And half the time I don't even know if I answer your questions. So excuse me, please. Yes.
Okay, what is your advice for trying to break into the industry and getting yourself noticed by casting directors?
Well, I think it's now a good time to do workshops and, do showcases where they come, because we're actually pretty good about that here in Georgia. I think if you ask them or try to, if you get Mark Cannon or Raven Drummer, they'll show up for things. So will agents as well. So I think definitely instead of spending money on fake things like reels or 9 headshots, again, you need 2 headshots. One, your commercial headshot, which is you. If I told you booked it, right? And you were like, oh my God, and you smiled, then I'd take your picture. It's not about you. Meaning, I was saying the other day, if you thought about your favorite toy as a kid, everybody had that one toy, right? What was your toy, Garnet? If you had to think back, you got to have one toy again. What would it be, man? Oh, right? Right? I could take your picture right then. But do you see that's joy? Not going smile, tilt your head. I hope this is worth $500. That is not what should be in a headshot. Headshot is pure joy. And the second headshot is the dramatic headshot, which looks right into the camera and says, send me in. Hey, Brian, you're not coming back. I don't give a shit. Pardon me. Send me in. It doesn't say I'm good or bad. It says I accept the challenge. I'm coming. It says you don't want me on the other team. There's a certain confidence to that. Brian, everybody's going to die in that building unless you go in. Send me in. It looks right into the camera, and if I look and I see that genuine, I accept your challenge, like if I pushed you, you win. Push me again. Whatever that feeling is, well, you're a little behind. Good to see you. How you been? I'm fine. Come on in. You want to dance or shimmy or?
You can sit over here.
We got one? Do we have one? Oh, here. And I mean, there's an extra seat here too. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, here. Then you're good. Whatever. Now that blocks your view. Me? Yeah, I mean, it's hot in here. I got a mask on and I'm working. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Yes, this is a different experience. I feel like Darth Vader, but if he was like 75. All right, anyway. Where were we? So workshops. How to get noticed? I mean, okay, you should be on Actors Access, finding your own student films, finding SCAD projects. There are so many projects create short films. The film festivals here, a lot of people, big people in Atlanta take part in these film festivals. Immerse yourself in the community, all right? Now, to that effect, how many of y'all are members of the Georgia Entertainment Sports League? Yeah, all right? But seriously, I started this thing 2 years ago called the Georgia Entertainment Sports League. It's a Facebook group. We got together so we could play tennis, right? Now we do all kinds of sports, and it's coming back, okay? I had to be real patient over the last year. Last February, 68 of us went snow skiing in Gatlinburg. I rented a cabin that slept 70, all right? Yes. It was a totally calm weekend. But the thing is that, so we have upcoming, we have volleyball and tennis, we have beltline yoga, we have horseback, there's all kinds of stuff. And you get to know people in this business. And the other reason I started it is because I realized we never ever hang out unless we're trying to do something. We're trying to learn, we're trying to book something. I'm competing against you, like all these things. Instead, we have an Australian guy named Alex Parkinson who taught us how to play cricket. Cricket is super weird. The bat is curved and it's in the round, so you can hit the ball that way if you want. It is. It's like baseball, but 360. It's super weird, but we meet all these new people. Now, one of the girls in the league, she came up to me, she said, Brian, I'm now the reader for this casting director, and I met her in the league. And I'm like, yes. because it brings people together. So that's the thing. It's on Facebook, Georgia Entertainment Sports League. We'll start doing more events when we can, but it now has 2,300 members. And when we can, we will do great things together again. I think we'll go rafting in August, but I'm trying to be really safe because I don't want to be like super spreader sports league, you know? So whatever. And so that's it, is to keep immersing yourself in this community. Do plays, do a play if you've never done a play, right? But you're like, those things don't pay the bills, okay? That's why you must find joy in your life and do something that that makes money so you can be an actor when you can. Because the idea that right now or just in a month or a year you'll pay for the rest of your life with acting is real small. So instead, find your journey and love every minute of it. That's why I said it. And you may be 50, it could take you 25 years. But it took me that long to realize, and now I'm one of the biggest commercial casting directors there is, and I have so much fun. I have fun with my career every day. I was on the golf course the other day and had the computer there and was wearing headphones and talking to a client, put it down to hit a golf shot. And the best thing is that's my second office. And I'll tell the client, that's my second office. They're like, oh, that's so great. And I'm like, I am having the best time in my career. Okay, so this is a wonderful time. It's also really hard time to sign with an agent. If you guys haven't signed with an agent, you have to be patient. Really patient, because I am pushing talent to agents and they are turning them down. Which I'm sorry, but to me, that's insane, because I know you. I know what you can do. As soon as I know you, I know what you can do. But it's that hard of a time for agents. They're trying to keep their doors open. Things are coming back. We are doing very well as far as against other states and how much work we have. But I can't believe, agents aren't signing people again yet. Okay, so that's, a long answer to your short question. Yeah, what else? What time is it? I have no track of time ever either.
First, thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah.
And also.
What's your name?
John Crawford.
Okay, we've met before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know you.
Mother Crawford.
It's funny because I wondered, like, with a face mask, how many people would I recognize? I'm like, I still can do it. I try to freak people out. I play this game of like, how far can I go in Atlanta without seeing an actor? And the answer is 0. As soon as I walk in anywhere, I'll go, there's an actor. I'll go, hey, how are you? And they'll go, whatever, dude. Hey! And I'm like, just make commercials, man. Go ahead.
Kind of feeding off with her question, not so much with the script, but if you say you have a scene and like it's about your dog, something like that, or you just got a brand new puppy, you're so excited, now you're like, all right, now your dog's dead. Like, is it okay if you be like, can I get a moment to like prep myself?
Of course. I mean, if you had those, what if, if you needed to make that switch, if I was the right director or casting director or person taping you, I would ask you to take that moment. Great, now break your heart, action. No, like, you got to really do it, right? So man, it's so funny because it starts to feel scary, right? To use that moment. But that is the art of acting. When you affect your own heart and genuinely do it, then people believe you. But you stop acting. Okay? Okay, what else?
So she's new to this. So what is your advice for me to help her?
Yeah, and this is such a weird time for parents, right? With the self-tapes and all this stuff. Parents are having to read with their kids. Like,
I don't even know what that means.
yeah, it's okay.
Like,
Well,
she's brand new to, so
yeah.
what is your advice?
Where do you go to school? Etowah? I can read.
Robbie's really good.
Yeah, wait. I should have. You're going to Etowah next year. You're in an awesome place. When you go to Etowah next year, this is what I'm trying to tell people to do now, is see if they'll start a TV and film program.
Oh, they have one.
Awesome. Like these rich private schools in Atlanta still just do plays and stuff. And I'm like, that's great, you guys. You know where you are? Like, seriously, you need to be preparing these kids for on camera and for being behind camera or whatever, all kinds of things. So that's a great idea. And then also you can be an extra. So list yourself with extras casting directors. All right. How many sets have you been on? So that's what's great. You get to go be an extra. You make $50 for the day or whatever, and you get to watch without any pressure. Okay. Okay. And don't be the extra. You'll see there's some extras on every set. There's all kinds, but there's some that are always waiting in the front to see if they can get in the shot. It's just right. But it's funny, right? It's really, I've been on a million sets. So immerse yourself, take your time. And the best thing is get in great classes. You study. And you learn, because this is and I'm a bulldozer. I'm loud, and don't let me intimidate you, because you guys need to know something. The reason I speak like this and the reason that I push hard is because I have your back. And that's my favorite thing. Like, if I do my job right, I reinforce you, which isn't actually my job. Casting directors in LA, it's like they've been through some kind of ringer where their human connection button is off. But it's a huge weapon we have here, because I'm going to take care of you. So that means immerse yourself in the culture, learn from people, from other moms, right? I know there's Clubhouse now, right? Are you on Clubhouse? Neither am I. Which people are you going? You need to be on Clubhouse. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. But the thing is now you can drive and you can learn. You can learn while and people are saying, Brian, you'd be a great speaker to jump in on this thing. And I'm like, all I do is talk all day, every day. So maybe, okay? But to immerse yourself and trust great teachers and schools and start shooting your own stuff. This wasn't a thing that I could do. When we did, yes, we had G.I. Joe and we had things on strings and cameras, but now you can shoot amazing quality footage with your phones to start producing your own content. That's the best, because I didn't learn the truth as an actor. I learned it as a casting director. I was like, tell me the truth. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, exactly. Okay, I was a kid. I was pretty good, so I knew, but I guarantee you some of those scripts, it wasn't real to me. I was just really good at memorizing. But that's, love this process, because you could be a great director in 10 years, 3 years, who knows? There's kid directors leading the way, right? So that's the advantage you have, is with this technology, you can learn so much. And don't spend money on headshots or these things yet until you know that you love this and you're kicking butt in your classes, okay? Because you have no pressure. That's the best thing about kids. As you grow older, you'll start all of a sudden trying to prove you can do this. I'm like, why don't you be your kid self? Okay. So if you take off this pressure button and love even your failures, you'll learn from your failures. You can either run from them and not want to do that, or you can go, okay, I had trouble with this. I'm going to get awesome at this. I tell people, if you go and audit a class and the class looks easy and fun, don't take the class. If everybody's really, really good and it's intimidating because they're better than you, take the class. Because at the end, you're the best in that class. Right? So you always challenge yourself. Challenge, right? Learn something new every day. Whatever you want to do, challenge yourself in this industry, because Georgia this is the most wonderful place to do this. The infrastructure we have built here is incredible, and we fight for each other. That's why I do this. I'm like, if I can push you, you're the next generation, so you make sure this doesn't leave here. We don't need Hollywood. We make it all here. Okay? What else? Yes, sir.
I'm gonna say my agent who has a lot of kid clients. He was on Clubhouse. So,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is, but if you're on it, then you may run into agents.
Yeah, they do, and you learn from them. That's the thing. If I was on there, I would learn too. But my absorption level is at max. So I learned from you guys. I write down the other day crazy things that people said on their self-tape slate. Right? Hi, I'm so-and-so, age range 30s to 40s. That was on the slate. And you know what I asked for? Name and height. There were some other fun ones. Hey, Bojangles casting team, see you on the set. I'm sorry, but that's a little presumptuous. And already, I don't want to hang out with you. Like, you're that guy that's like, and I'm like, nope. Okay, I love this. Yes, ready? 1, 2, 3, and then over there again. Yes, sure.
You mentioned headshots a few times. Not spend a lot of money on them, but isn't that the first thing you are seeing when you're?
It is, but you should honor your craft first. So get good at it. So that way, when you even take your headshot, you're like, I deserve the right to take these. You don't have to stand like this. Okay? So that means your headshot is enjoyment. Do quick look sessions. So you get 2 shots instead of 5 wardrobe changes, hair, makeup, $1,000. Totally unnecessary. Instead, I'll ask somebody, who took these? So-and-so. Oh, this was a quick look session, wasn't it? Yeah, I just paid like $150 and he took 2 versions of it. And I'm like, you know why this is good? You had fun. You didn't invest your future in that $1,000 in it. You actually went, oh, cool. It's okay if it happens. It's okay. It's fine if you were right. I hear that back there, right? But you know, there's different photographers, but I don't need 9 pictures. By the time you show me 9 pictures, I know what you don't like about yourself. I know what you think is your good side. I'm serious. I can tell what you're trying to show me, which is crazy. Instead of you just being you. I want to see you. And then I can see who you can be. You don't have to show me to do that. You don't have to show me you feel sick. People do that. They'll put on a robe and they're like, this is me sick. Like, no, it's not. That's not, you don't need to show me that. In fact, I put a joke one time on Facebook. If you're going to do that, you might as well, one headshot nobody's showing me is pure fear. Like, I want to see the headshot that's like, there's a spider on you or whatever it is. So then people started posting their fear headshot. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not serious. Okay. Yes.
I have a quick question, and Polly has one up there.
Ooh, Polly.
I looked up Georgia Entertainment Sports League and I can't find it.
It's on Facebook or it's GESL.club.
GESL.club.
Or on Facebook, Georgia Entertainment Sports League.
LEAGUE.
Yeah, league. I don't know if it's gone. Maybe I erased it. We'll figure it out. Yeah. But you know, yes, Polly, you're muted. Now you're unmuted.
Now I'm unmuted. I'm a Zoomie, so.
Oh.
So I have a question building off of the agent question that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So at what point should you change from self-submitting to searching for an agent?
I mean, if you've been studying and you already know what you do well on camera and you enjoy yourself on camera and you believe yourself, I think that's time to go to get an agent. You know, once scripts become to that point where you're like, I'm not trying to say this stuff and it actually feels like it's just you, I think you're there. And Polly, you seem like you already have that about you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I have a second question. Can I?
Oh, does she have that about her already?
Completely.
Yeah, Polly, I can tell you're already comfortable who you are, right? A lot of times adults are worried about, or kids or moms are worried about their teeth. And I'll say, and this doesn't have to do with you, Polly, but I'll say to them, you either fix your teeth or you embrace it, because nobody will ever be you. There is one of you in the world. So that means once you know that you're good enough, and once you can make roles be you, no one will ever be you. So what's more powerful, trying to be somebody or say something that you wouldn't normally say, or let that come out of you? And so actors try to erase that. Like, I'm going to become this thing. And I'm like, no, I can still see Polly. In fact, when you actually let yourself go and care about the other person, that's truly when I see you, right? You already have that empathy in a second in you. So I don't see you freaking out on camera. So do your thing. Yeah, exactly.
She has neat timing. Both of them do. These are both my ringers here.
Okay.
Polly and Irina were both in my last film.
Okay.
But they both are part of the comedy scenes, and just their timing is.
I want to ask her a question, and I'll ask you as the director as well, to both of you, what is the most important thing for your timing? What gives you that good timing, Polly?
Just listening, I guess.
Thank you. That's the only thing I wanted to hear. I'm not kidding. I knew you would say that. I only ask questions that I know the answers to, by the way. I'm really good at that. Really good. So perfect, Polly. Seriously though, listening is how comedy is done. All right. It's so funny, but there are, and it even verbal, you can listen to verbal cues. There's this vitamin water script I cast, and at the end of it, the guy goes, he's talking to his team, and he goes, there's 249 strategic imperatives. We've already talked about that. 249 strategic imperatives that are going to get us back to the top. Number one is, I'm just messing with you. We have five strategic imperatives. You want to know why that's funny? Because you thought I was going to do 249 things. My comedy wasn't me going, and this is what people do that in that audition. They'll go, we have 49 things. No, we don't. I'm like, that's not what's funny. What's funny is watching the crowd go, please don't start with 249 things. I don't even have a chalkboard, but I could feel all of you were like, are you serious? And I'm like, nope. And you're like, oh, that's funny. But you see, genuine comedy is based on reacting to things that may not even be there. In that audition, there's no, you're just standing there in a room by yourself. But I asked the person to lead their team back to greatness. And then they did it and did a good job, and I'll say, okay, great. This is now a play. And now you have 300 people in the audience. I make them close their eyes. What playhouse are you in? I would ask them. And then they're in this playhouse. So then they know how to talk to the people in the back with our strategic imperatives, whatever it is. It's funny how play, and then we can make it a film where it's real tiny like this. We got one chance. It's your strategic imperative. But everything has a different tone. It's so funny. As soon as you change the setting, you can change that. Like, that's intense, right? Because it should be. It's a film. But everything has a mode, If you figure out the story, your lines are a result. They're part of it. Instead, actors try to memorize lines and put them into something. And I'm like, no. See the whole thing and your lines come out of it. It's backwards. That's why I see things backwards from you guys. Okay? So what else? Yes, sorry.
So when you're doing self-tapes and Zoom auditions, do you care about miming props or attire?
So if they say no props, the biggest thing is a cell phone. If you're on the phone, you should use it because that feels weird. But if they say it, because the film and casting directors love to say that, and it gets in y'all's heads. They give so many dumb directions, sorry. But they do. They give so many tasks for you guys to complete. And I'm like, this is what I feel in self-tapes when I watch them now. You're like, I hope I'm pleasing the casting director. All right. Right? It's so weird. And I just totally distracted myself. What was your?
Well, do you care
props? Thank you. So it is Saturday, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with the props, the best way to do it is if they say no props. If you have a scene with a baseball bat and you're going to bash somebody or whatever it is, hold a baseball bat and practice it with the baseball bat and then shoot it without the baseball bat. And it'll feel exactly like that. The number one place that I feel that happen is when an audition takes place in a car. No one will practice in their car. And I'm like, if you're driving in a car, what's the most, I always say the same thing after the first take. If you're driving your car, what's the most important thing to look at? Correct. You'd think that would be, but people will start a commercial and they'll go, the other day when I drove to get auto insurance, I had the best time. And I was like, what I'll do is I'll go, they go, whoa. Anyway. So what they're saying is secondary, the road or the thing that they're imagining. And so then they'll start doing this. I'll go, no, close your eyes. Hold on. Close your eyes and imagine the last 3 turns in your neighborhood. Then you know the road. So you stop doing this because nobody drives like that, only in auditions. But it looks exactly like Groundhog Day. Don't drive angry. All right. So old dude. Okay. Yeah, but it's funny because then they settle in and they take the last three turns, they believe themselves, and then they talk, right? Or even the passenger. Passenger, if I ever have a film audition and the passenger's talking to the person who's driving, they'll always do the same thing. They'll talk to him. And I'm like, look out the window and talk to him. See how that feels if this scene is real around you while you're actually talking to this person, because that's what you do in the car. But people won't practice in their car. And I know immediately, the car is a prop you can't use in your audition. But if you practice in your car, it would be exactly right. Okay. And the other reason is I can tell when people use their rearview mirrors because they'll go, yeah. And it's funny because I'm like, I believe you're in your car.
Oh, it's just a really funny real life story. Our whole family had a commercial audition for a car. It was in person in LA. And my husband.
Yeah.
Like,
Dads are the worst. They're like, what do I do?
Waiting for the kids to get out of school. And he's like this.
Right.
You know,
Right.
yeah.
Because it feels weird. And they say no props.
And the family got a call back. Except for
No. Dads are almost always the one who's replaced. Really, dads are the one like, oh, that's totally easy. You know, I'm sure. What do I do? Like, it's amazing. Okay. That dads act like they just stepped into something they have no idea. Oh, ooh, you know? Yes. Go ahead.
The thing about like props is sometimes they can be really like helpful. Like I was doing an audition where I was supposed to be holding a shotgun.
Yeah.
And I did it once like without anything in my hands. And the person I was giving was just like, well, you don't have a shotgun, but like, do you have something you can use? And I picked a broom and I like took the head off and I held it like this. I ended up getting the job. And the producer told me, she was like, oh my God, when we watched it, we were like, oh, it's the broom, it's the shotgun.
Yeah.
Because they could tell that I could like feel it in my hands.
When you hold that on somebody, I won't point it at you, but when we do that, the end of whoever you're pointing it on becomes the focus of what you're talking about. You don't care about yourself anymore. You got a shotgun, you know? So it's funny because once you do that, they believed you.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you, most people did not feel what it was like to hold or to believe yourself. So hugely important. Yes. Hi, you can go from there and just holler.
So, I'm a mom to 10-year-old.
I see that.
And
Either that or you're a kidnapper.
it's not for me, I don't like it.
What's your question? I got you.
So, the question is, for child actor, what would you say are the major doors to do when you're in audition?
I have you. I got you. The main thing for me is to tell moms to let go, let your kids be imperfect. So watch this. If you're ever in old days,
Yeah, it says they're offline. Not sure if we should maybe send them an email. Do you live in Atlanta? You're on mute.
Oh, okay. I live in Loganville.
Oh, cool.
Where do you, are you in Atlanta? I mean, where do you live?
I live in Charlotte, so I'm a hot minute away. I was gonna drive down, but I was like 4 hours and 30 minutes. I didn't end up. I couldn't leave in time. So
Yeah, I mean, it's Mother's Day weekend, so I was doing some stuff with my mom, and I said, "Oh my God!" For me, Woodstock is probably an hour and a half. I'm on
mhm.
one spectrum, and they're on the other end. Yeah, so with everything I had to do today, I said, well, they're offering a virtual link, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm kind of like right. I was like, if I can get my life organized and get out of the door by 11, I'll make it in person. But it
Yeah.
just with everything in life, there's that 20% rule. You think something's gonna take an hour, it takes an hour and 20, and it
Oh,
just you're
oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's what it is. But I didn't know how they were gonna do the Zoom and live in person at the same time. And actually they did it really well. So it was it
They
was good.
did for the first um hour and 40 minutes, it was great.
Yeah, and then technical issues, right?
Yeah, it was great, very informative, and I took a lot of great notes, and oh my God, the way Brian broke down, just the whole closing your eye thing. Like
That was
I,
yeah.
I am definitely applying that skill to all of my tapes,
Oh,
always.
I completely agree with you on that. And even just so I'm relatively new to acting,
Okay.
and he's the first casting director I've actually, I guess I can't say met in person, but he's the first casting director that I've seen in person. And
Okay.
before, I kind of had this like casting directors made horror movies. Like I was like, they're intimidating. I just watch everything on YouTube, and they're like, here are the things that if you do, I hate you. And I'm like, oh. And he
Yeah.
was so
Taking
interesting to
and
do, and
refrain.
it kind of felt like we were in this together to make art and not someone who is just ruthlessly tearing apart your life. And that was a really nice change to that perspective.
Well, you know what? When I first met Brian, it was at the Alliance Theater, and my agent set something up just for her talent, and we went
Hmm.
and met, and I was like, oh my God, he is so nice. Like he really is looking out for the actors. He really cares. He has a genuine heart for the actors. He really wants you to win. And that was my first impression of him. And it's been wonderful ever since. And I've done quite a few auditions with him, and it's just been a pleasure. And when you like do the in-person auditions with him, it's the same thing. Laid back, just no worries, don't stress out. And I'm like, oh my God, like if all casting directors could be like this, he
It would
is.
make, yeah, so now I'm gonna go into meeting the next casting director thinking it's gonna be a Brian, and it's gonna be a Freddy Krueger. Like they have different motivations and they have you close your eyes.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but yeah, so do you go to the Hollywood acting studio as well, or are you a member of their like workshops and classes?
No, but um I take a lot of acting classes.
Hmm.
I've been acting probably since 2012, but I started out in theater. And
Yeah.
I've done television and film probably for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've dabbled a little bit with theater inside of the 4 or 5 years, but in all honesty, unless I'm on Broadway or Atlanta Broadway, New York Broadway, I just prefer television and film, and I love commercials. I absolutely love commercials. Yeah.
That's, I haven't been in a commercial yet. In my acting class, because I'm part of the Actors Lab, which is like an acting class studio
Okay.
equivalent to Charlotte, and we did one commercial and it was really fun. Just kind of because it felt more theatrical, almost like the stakes were higher. You could be
Yeah.
more, because I'm like naturally a very like I think most actors are. That's the one thing that not one thing, there's a million things. But one of the first things that I noticed when I walked onto a film set is everyone my whole life has said, you're too sensitive, you're too emotional. And on the film set, they were like, oh yeah, no, I do that. I'm the exact same way. I feel emotions as well. And
But
it was like, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I think that's awesome because you can channel that.
Yeah, well, and it felt so wonderful to not be a like outsider, to
Right, right.
feel, yeah. And so it was
Somebody
wonderful.
understands.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, yeah, no, we don't think it's weird that you're a sensitive person. In fact, we think it's cool because you're going to be more fun to act with because it's not going to be like reading next to a cardboard box. Let's do this. Let's have fun. Let's make art and let's be better people. Like,
Right. Right. One reason I love commercials is because in television, and I am just naturally theatrical. Like that is theater is really my natural thing. But what I love is that commercials is right in the middle between film and television because you can't be all over the place because you're right there, the camera's right there in your face, so you don't have to, project as much. Whereas with commercials, they want to see that personality come across. And with
yeah,
film, it's kind of like, Teresa, we need you to pull it back a little bit, pull it back.
yeah,
But I can just be myself, and that's what they want. Like he was saying, be genuine, bring you to the set. How would you do that? How would you? I mean, I just wrote down so many wonderful things. But the question I wanted to ask him is about the before and after. When you're doing your before and after, is it okay to improv without getting away from the script? How do you feel about that? But I ain't get that. I might email them and ask them the question.
I mean, because that's a good question. Yeah, like how much can you improv in a script? And then I've had self tapes before. Well, he answered this question, but I still had some questions about it because I've had self tapes where I've gone through the whole script and it was meant to say, it was like, you can save $1,000. And I said, well, you can earn $1,000. And it kind of had the same meaning but it was my favorite take. Do you retake that because the one word was off or do you just submit it?
he what he said was, and man, because my husband takes me sometimes, and he'll be my director, and I said, and he comes with good responses, but it get on my nerves because he's my husband, and it's like, you're not.
Yeah.
But he's good and it's legitimate. But I've done that, and in this particular instance, when I didn't say it the right way, it changed the dynamics of the script, and it was one word, and
Mhm.
I was like, you're right, because I said they don't care about that, and he said, but when you say it like that, you're changing the dynamics of the script, and so I
Right.
think that's what Brian was saying. If you change that little one word and it's still that's how you would say it, then okay. It's because you're not changing the whole script or the meaning or what's going on in the script. When I changed it, and it was the and we. I was talking about a group, and I said, oh, he was there versus they were there. That's a big difference. You
Yeah.
saying That's a big difference. They're talking about a group of people versus one person. They're not talking about one person. And so I had to do it again. But in your case, I don't, what you were just referring to, I don't think it changed the dynamics of the
Yeah.
story. You know what I mean? That's just something you would say.
When you were talking about the us versus him, like the singular versus plural, I just watched this YouTube video about Meryl Streep and the last line of The Devils Wear Prada, and what the line was everyone wants to be like me, and she changed it to everyone wants to be like us, and that one word completely changed the script, and they were like, and they loved it. They were like, it was the most ingenious move. It completely added a layer of complexity and completion to the storyline, and it made the choice that Andy made so much more meaningful. And it's just one word.
One. And I'm wondering if that was a mistake or she meant to say that, you know?
It's Meryl Streep, so I like to think that like everything she does is on purpose.
Probably.
But
Look, probably. Yeah, probably.
But yeah, how did you? Oh, sorry. My cat. The reason I went and let him in is because he. This is the leader of my household, and he's right now. He's telling me that he wants food, and he was knocking on the door. So he was, and by knocking on the door, I mean body slamming. And now he'll just start knocking things off of the desk until I feed him.
Are
Or
you
my boyfriend. Oh yeah, no, yeah. He's the most passive aggressive cat. Like in the morning, we'll wake up and he's like, oh, he's also an expert at anatomy because he knows exactly where your like diaphragm is, exactly where your kidney is, and exactly where your carotid artery is. Because he will run across and be like, or
Are
like
you serious?
sometimes he'll pounce on the boob,
Why? You know what? I don't have pets. I grew up with pets, but I hear stories. They are so amazing. It makes me want to get a pet, but I'm like, I had 2 kids and I got a grandbaby. So that's because they're like your children.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. My boyfriend and I don't have kids yet, but we call these our fur babies, and yeah, I mean my dog is an angel, my cat is a devil. Like, and if doing the carotid artery or the boobs or the diaphragm doesn't work, he goes to your nightstand and he's like, oh, is this your phone? And
Not
he just and then so like until you finally get up, it's hilarious. I mean, it's
What?
annoying, but it's funny,
But it's funny because it's like it's a cat. It's with a personality and an attitude.
Oh, yeah, and there is a reason that cat memes are a huge thing on the internet and dog memes aren't, because devils are more funny than angels.
Oh, especially if it's an animal.
Oh yeah, and look how
Oh,
cute it is. Oh,
yeah. See, I don't believe anything you just told me.
we have a love-hate relationship. So
Well,
go ahead.
okay.
Oh, so what got you into acting? Like, at what point did you say, you know what, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it.
You know what? I recorded a CD with my family, my 2 kids and my brother. We recorded it because I started out singing. Like that's my first true love is singing. So we recorded a CD together and I started promoting my CD. And in doing so, I ran across this young lady who had a radio show. And
Mhm.
so I was on her radio show promoting my CD. And she says, you know what? We have a spot for a mom in a play that we're doing, and you just audition. We're offering you the role. I was like, what? So I promise you that's where it started. So I started in theater, like I told you. So I started doing her play, and we did that for a couple of years. And that got old. And I was like, I like this. So I just started auditioning for other plays, and I did that for like 5, 6 years. I was like, okay, I'm over the plays. I'm getting ready to start with these films. And that's when I started, like Brian was talking about, I started doing student films, and at
Mhm.
least that's where you get your footage from, and you can put that on Actors Access, what he was talking about. And
Yeah.
one led to another after my resume was, I felt like worthy. My agent had a open house for, because they were looking for talent, and I submitted. They called me in for an audition, and I've been with them ever since, like 3-4 years now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. That's how it started.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a small town in between Asheville and Charlotte
Oh,
called Tryon. It's
called who?
basically, it's called Tryon. It's a one street town where it's like they might as well put the population on the sign, like on the welcome sign. They might change it when it changes by one or two. When there's a birth and a death, they just cross it out and go next. And they had a movie that was filming there. And I work for a company that sells electrolytes. And I got a call from my friend who lives close there, and she's like, Polly, they need a runner with a dog. You'd be perfect. But I couldn't make it
Oh,
because um, I had work. I was like, darn. And as luck
yeah.
would have it, a month later, I was driving up through Tryon. Sorry, he wants to knock the pen over. And they were like, and my friend called me. She's like, "Hey, Polly, they're doing another extra scene. Do you want to come do it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to come do it. How cool is that?" And so
Yeah.
we did it, and it was so much fun that I called my friend who had drank a beer with like someone that was doing something with the movie, and I was like, "Tell them if they have any speaking roles left and they need someone, I'm totally down." Which I didn't know how ignorant of a question that was, you know? And she's like, okay, sure. And so I guess she talks to him and she calls him back and she's like, yeah, no, they don't want you or need you. And I was like, darn, it's okay. Continue on with my life. And then she called me back literally 5 minutes later and she's like, actually, just kidding. The director wants to see you because apparently there's not a lot of like chemistry between the main like hunk of the movie and the competing love interest. And I was like, okay, cool. And you have to understand the average age in Tryon is 63. So there's not a lot of competition for being the competing leg. And so I walked into the hotel room, or the hotel, and I sat down, and the director looks at me up and down and she's like, "You'll do," and leaves. And I was like, oh shit.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And so I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I'm green, which I learned you should never say. Um, you should always be very confident. Like I am confident in myself and my craft, and I can Google things on the fly really quickly. Can't do that. But I got in front of camera, and I've never had so much fun in my life. I mean, the lights, the
Yeah.
people. I mean, it was so cool. And I had to learn everything. But I was like, I can't not try this. But I
Right.
mean, like people like you are so cool.
Yeah. It's the absolute coolest, most fun, exciting thing. And I tell my husband all the time, I say, I'm so glad I'm not driven by money, because you'll
Mhm.
do it. It's for me, I have adult children who live on their own, and it's me and my husband. We're empty nesters, and we have our grandbaby a lot. But it's like I raised my kids, I went to college, all of that stuff. So for me, it's like, why not? I'm having fun doing it. I worked in corporate America for like 20 some years. It's like I've done a lot. And so this is just one of those things I want to add to my book,
Right.
if you will. You know what I mean? It's like, go for it.
Yeah.
Why not do it and have fun?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I can think of it now. I was like, you know what? Even if in 40 years or whatever, when I'm sitting around a campfire drinking wine and reminiscing about my life, I want to reminisce about a life where I shot my shot and not a life where I wondered, you know?
Right. Because I tell people all the time, I do not live with regrets. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. If I want to try it, I'm going to try it. At least I can say I tried and not have regrets. Like you said, you sitting on the front porch, chilling or whatever at 85. And it's like, oh, I'm so glad, or probably still working. I'm so glad I wanted to try that whole acting thing.
Yeah, right. Or it's like you're talking to your grandkids or great grandkids if we're so lucky, and
Yes.
you get to say, oh yeah, you're using TikTok. I was in a TikTok commercial, you know?
Right. Exactly. Just go for it. And COVID just taught, I think, a lot of us so much. Life is so short, honey. If you want to do it, do it. If you want to try it, try it. If you want to eat it, eat it. Just do what you want to do.
Right? Yeah. Oh, there's this gosh. Have you ever heard of like there's like a Japanese puffer fish that the chefs have to be trained for like 10 years to remove certain like arteries or nerves or something that are poisonous that can, if you eat it, you
Oh,
could
wow.
die. But apparently it's a delicacy. So
Mm,
it's like my mom went and she ate it, but it
re-
was like I don't know if I have that bravery. Maybe when I'm 85 and I'm
right.
like,
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. That's cool, but yeah.
like if you were already on your deathbed and you're like, well, now my death is a story, not a
Mm,
tragedy.
exactly.
It's like how did great grandma die? Oh yeah, she ate a poisonous puffer fish. you know,
Do what she was doing because that's what she wanted to do.
she was doing what she wanted to do. Exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, Polly, I'm gonna let you go ahead and feed. What's your name?
Helix and Obi, like Obi-Wan.
Oh,
But it was such, I know it was a bummer that the Zoom went offline, but it was so great getting to talk to you and getting to meet you.
you
So
likewise. It really was a pleasure. And I sent them. I sent Kelly and Brian an email, and I let them know that you and I both were disconnected from the call. But it was great, and we learned a lot. And thank you. So I
yeah,
sent email on our behalf. So we
well,
ain't
I
just
really appreciate that. Well, have a wonderful rest of your night and a great weekend.
You too, Polly, and maybe we'll see each other soon. This entertainment world is small, so I'm sure I'll see you again around.
I hope so. I hope so. Have a good
Take
night.
care. You too.